When you guys are moving into Colorado and you reach out to us asking about the different areas that you might want to live in, the two areas that you ask about the most is pretty much Denver and then Fort Collins. So Northern Colorado versus the Denver metro area. What I'm going to be doing is comparing those two areas, those two cities today, talking about the big differences and potentially help you figure out which one might be best for you. I'm going to go into this first by talking about a few statistical facts. So, I mean, like we're talking about population, median sales price, stuff like that. So if we are comparing the population, obviously Denver is the most populated city in Colorado. You're looking at a population of 716,234. If we look at Fort Collins, which is the fourth most populated city in Colorado, you're looking at 170,507. When we look at the growth, the population growth between these two cities, Denver's slightly down. I think it was like negative 0.3% since 2020. And then Fort Collins was the exact opposite. It was just like 2 or 3% since 2020 plus. And so it's like pretty much a wash, right? So both of these cities aren't really gaining or losing that much population. They're pretty much just steady since 2020. Another thing though, and this one actually blew my mind because I would have thought it would have been different. Growing up in Colorado, my mind, and I'm not going to tell you, I just told you that this number kind of blew my mind when we were talking about it, but growing up, but when we are looking at that median age comparing the two cities, Denver's median age is 34.9 and Fort Collins is 30.1. I would have thought the complete opposite. Growing up in Colorado, I thought that number would have been flipped. So it's interesting to see that Fort Collins does have a lower median age as compared to Denver. Another quick note on this is all of these stats are based off of worldpopulationreview.com. The last one that I wanted to do in regards to statistics is we're going to be talking about that median sales price of when you're purchasing a home within either of these cities. Usually I wait, to like middle of this video, but I really wanted to get out of the way and break into a few of those notable differences between these two cities that I will be covering at the latter portion of the video. All right, so median sales price. Let's go ahead and cover Denver. Actually, here's what I'm gonna do. So usually what we do is we're breaking into your overall. So where you're talking about your single family and then also your attached products, that number lumped into one number. I'm gonna go over Denver and then I will go over into Fort Collins. That way we can compare apples to apples, both within the same line. So then the median sales price overall in Denver is $586,000 and that number is up 3.72 year over year. These numbers are based off of August of 2024. So that means that it is up 3.72% from August of 2023. Fort Collins median sales price is $528,000 and that number is actually down 4.09%. Before I break into these other numbers, because it looks like Fort Collins has a trend and then Denver also has a trend, is Fort Collins, what we are seeing is a lot of people are choosing the cities outlying Fort Collins. That might be why these numbers are down in the way they are, because there's just not that much demand of those people who are purchasing in Fort Collins. They're choosing a few of these other cities that are outlying. It's like Loveland, Windsor, Greeley. These other cities, a lot of people who are moving more to Northern Colorado are choosing those, and that might be why these numbers are down. Let's break into that single family next. So for Denver, your median sales price on single family homes is $699,000. Huge jump right there. That number is actually up though, 7.37% year over year. The median sales price on a single family in Fort Collins is $635,000. So what is that, $150,000 difference in your single family homes? It's crazy to think. That number though is also still down as the overall at 5.31% year over year. Last one we're going to be talking about with these median sales prices when purchasing real estate is your attached products. So we're talking about your condos, your townhouses, and your row homes. In Denver, that median sales price is $378,000 year over year. That number is up 3.14%. Going up to Fort Collins, if we compare that median sales price, we're looking at a median sales price of $330,000, and that number is down 16.35%. It always sucks when we do see that these numbers are down double digits. Unfortunately, in Fort Collins, for the month of August, these numbers were down double digits, 16.35%. on your attached products. Of course, we cannot do this video comparing these two cities without talking about that cost of living. What is it going to cost you to live in each of these cities when we approach this cost of living? A lot of times when we compare, we just throw you that cost of living index where 100 is your national average, it's above it, it's more expensive, and if it's below it, it's cheaper. But this way you just get a good idea. We're not going to be breaking into like utility bills or anything like that. It's more so just giving you a perspective of, if you decide Fort Collins or Denver, which one ultimately is going to be cheaper, and then also in which category. So overall, if we're looking at this cost of living index, Denver is at a 127.6. Yes, it is above your national average. Looking at Fort Collins, it is also above your national average, but not as much as Denver. Fort Collins sits at a 115.7. So overall, Fort Collins will be cheaper when comparing it on the cost of living index. The next category we're going to break into is going to be your food and groceries in that cost of living. This one's pretty much just level, and it's like we're comparing food and groceries. It's really not that big of a difference. So Denver is sitting at a 101.9, a little bit higher than your national average. And then Fort Collins is at a 101.1. So what is that? A 0.8 difference between the two. Discuss when we are talking about your food and groceries. The next one is going to be housing. And you might say, hey, Pete, you just talked about median sales prices. We already know that Fort Collins is cheaper. Yes, but when we're talking about this cost of living index number, this housing also incorporates the cost to rent and also purchase a property within either of these cities. Over in Denver, your housing cost of living index is a 183.1. And then over in Fort Collins, we are looking at a 167.2. So definitely much more expensive when we are comparing them to the national average. But Fort Collins takes the cake when we are comparing the two cities. The next category is going to be health. So the cost to pretty much, go to your doctor, you get those doctor visits done, those hospital visits, stuff like that. When we are talking about health, Denver actually is going to take the cake on this, coming in at 83.9. Well below that national average, and this is a trend that we consistently see when we are talking about a lot of these Denver metro and then northern Colorado cities, is when it comes to healthcare, it's cheaper than your national average. Fort Collins comes in at 87.5, so although it's not as cheap as Denver, it is still cheaper than your national average. All right, the next category we're going to be talking about is your utilities. What is it going to cost based on your cost of living index to run those utilities? Denver comes in at a 96.2, and then Fort Collins comes in at a 91.3. So utilities, Fort Collins will take the cake. It is a little bit cheaper. And then the last one we are going to be talking about is transportation. So the cost for, let's talk about auto insurance, the cost to repair your vehicle, the cost for public transportation. In Denver, it comes in at a 116.1. It is going to be much more expensive than your national average. Before I dive into Fort Collins, I think the biggest reason for this is auto insurance. And then also, since the cost of living is higher in Denver, if you're looking to get those auto repairs done, they are more likely going to be more expensive in Denver as compared to Fort Collins. And Fort Collins comes in much cheaper than Denver when we are talking about this transportation cost of living index at a 87.4. Let's go ahead and break into that third category. We're going to be talking about jobs. And with jobs, I pretty much just went to zippia.com and looked at the largest employers in each of these cities. So if we're talking about Denver, the largest employers that we are going to be seeing, so say if you're coming here, if you're not necessarily relocating with the company, you're like, where am I going to work? The largest companies in Denver is going to be DaVita Kidney Care. They have a great building in downtown Denver. It's one of the larger skyscrapers that is in downtown Denver. Then we've got ING Security Life of Denver, Quest Telecommunications, Agility, which is a public warehouse company. And then the fifth one is United International Holdings. If we bump up into Fort Collins, I'm actually surprised here because we know that we have a Hewlett Packard up in Fort Collins. I'm surprised that didn't make the list of the largest companies in Fort Collins. The first one's going to be Advanced Energy Industries. The second one's going to be Woodward, which is just a manufacturer as a service provider, which I'm going to try and describe this the best way as possible. It's the manufacturer service provider for aerospace and industrial markets. Not really sure what that is, but for those of you who are in that industry, that you'll know what I'm talking about when I do say that. Rimrock, which is a property management services. Boyd Group Services, and then MacLeod or MacLeod Pharmaceuticals. So there you go. Now we're talking about if you are looking at getting a job in either of these cities, those are going to be the largest companies in each of these cities. All right, now you stuck around. We're going to be talking about a few of the notable differences between the two of these outside of the fact that we know that Denver is much larger in regards to population. Before I do this though, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate in the state of Colorado, we have assembled the best team to help you out with all your real estate needs. Give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below it there, we always answer. It doesn't matter date or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, want to educate yourself on all the latest stuff coming to Colorado, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up. notification bell. That way you're notified every single time that we put out a brand new video. All right, so notable differences. And this has to deal with kind of your population. If you are going to be living in Denver, obviously it's more that big city lifestyle, that urban lifestyle, right? Where you got your awesome nightlife down there. You have all the different clubs. You have all the great festivities that come with living in a big city. If we go up to Fort Collins, a lot of it is a lot more community, right? So a lot of the events they do have, yes, Fort Collins obviously has a nightlife up there, but it's definitely not as grand as it's going to be in Denver. They have a lot of community events up in Fort Collins that they always do, a lot of festivals they do, farmers markets, stuff like that you're gonna have more so in Fort Collins. So we're talking about pretty much big city life as compared to your smaller city life, because I wouldn't say it's a small city life. It's definitely much larger than a lot of smaller cities. But that's a big difference between the two of these. Another one is gonna be in Denver, because everyone says, Denver mountains and all that stuff, but technically, the mountains are not in Denver, and that's not what you take advantage of when you are living within Denver. You have those urban activities, right? So a lot of the stuff outside of just your nightlife and stuff like that, you've got all the museums down there, you got the zoos. And the good thing about Denver too with this is they are trying to incorporate a lot of outdoor things. And so Denver's an active city. It is a very active city. So you see a lot of people running, see a lot of people golfing, going to the parks, all those great things. But then they have like these great kayak chutes that they built up over in like Rhino area and stuff. So they're still trying to incorporate that mountain lifestyle to be in an urban center, which is cool that they're trying to do that. Whereas up in Fort Collins, it is definitely much more of your outdoor activities. Like they have platinum rated bike trails up there. You could go up to and do that lake life up in Horsetooth. They have all these different things that you could do, more outdoors style. You can go ride your bike, you can go hiking and biking, stuff like that you can do in Fort Collins, where you really can take advantage of that. So much in Denver, you're gonna have to go more up into the mountains in order to do similar outdoor activities as you would be doing up in Fort Collins. This is another big notable difference between the two of these is Denver, you have DIA, Denver International Airport. So if you are traveling consistently, whether we're talking about vacations, whether we're talking about business, you have an international airport there that will bring you pretty much anywhere you want to go. Up in Fort Collins, you have Northern Colorado Regional, which is more of a regional airport. It's a smaller airport. So, I mean, say that you're not having to commute to the airport consistently. You're like, I want to live in Fort Collins, but at the same time, I am going to have that international airport. I'd say it's probably about an hour and a half, depending on whether you take the tollway, depending on traffic, in order to get to DIA from Fort Collins. Otherwise, the only one you are going to have up in Fort Collins is that Northern Colorado Regional Airport. And this one is the biggest one. I think, personally for me, a huge Broncos fan is what I am. And professional sports in Denver as compared to college sports up in Fort Collins. So of course in Denver, you've got your Broncos, which we finally won our first game, freaking awesome. Actually, by the time you watch this video, I guess we'll see what happens after that game. And then, you got the Rockies, you've got the Nuggets, you've got the Avalanche, the Mammoth, which is our indoor lacrosse team, super awesome. We love going to those games. Whereas when you go up into Fort Collins, they do have a minor league hockey team up there, but I think that's actually located within Loveland. Majority of it is going to be surrounded around CSU. Colorado State University, you got the Rams up there, and that is where a lot of your sports are going to come from. A lot of the locals that live within Fort Collins, they do take advantage of going into those games. They are a lot of fun. I've been to a few of them. So that's a big notable difference too, is you got your professional sports compared to your college sports. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps it up. I'm glad that I was able to compare these two cities. If you do have any further questions, make sure you do reach out. And if you are looking at pursuing real estate in the state of Colorado, we have assembled the best team to help you out with all your relocation needs. Give us a call or text at that phone number right below. Right below there, we always answer. It doesn't matter day or time, but if you're not quite ready to purchase, make sure you follow along. Educate yourself by smashing that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, notification bell. That way you're notified every single time that we put out a brand new video. Until next time, we love you. Bye.